This is Kasian, and it's time for a weekly conference call at Vectorspace AI. We'll start with what's happening around the world. As usual, it was a wild one. It was the busiest Monday we've had in a while. Part of our team was off-site traveling, collecting a few important data points, and we anticipate we'll have a few more Mondays like this. The most important event that we have paid attention to was the introduction of a vaccine by Pfizer, which is 90% effective against the virus. It was also interesting to note that traditional stocks like Zoom and a few others dropped on the news, while world markets spiked. The other big event was U.S. elections and the resulting geopolitical storm, as you might call it. How does this affect Vectorspace AI? This is a question we get. Well, just as the market, we like certainty. We like knowing where things are going. We like direction, and that enables us to course correct, which we've done. Our systems made money during the last two administrations, and they'll continue to do so during the next two. More detailed answer would include the fact that we look at R&D, we look at science, and we look at industry. And any new administration affects these on a macro level for the positive or the negative. And we service every industry and fund scientific innovation, which we then use to service every industry. So we are impacted one way or another, and we always come out ahead. We are also looking at something related to the virus death rate. They're a month behind, and they're beginning to increase. And this is going to result in localized lockdowns around the world and general uncertainty. It's already triggered a little retrace in the markets. Moving to the industry side, Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, the UAE's largest sovereign wealth fund, has hired Stephen Molinet, an artificial intelligence expert, to help them gain a better understanding of natural language processing and whatever else they'd like to do to extract an edge in managing the $700 billion they have under management, I think it was. When sovereign wealth funds start taking an interest in NLP, so will everyone else in the global public and private financial marketplace. On the crypto side, more Wall Street veterans are announcing they're acquiring positions in crypto, and that's to get more exposure to Bitcoin primarily. It's going to move to get more exposure to other sectors of crypto, obviously. This also means anytime somebody announces this, they're done building their positions for the most part. And we've observed a pattern. The financial markets in general, the traditional financial markets, are looking for two things: more exposure to crypto and more exposure to NLP, natural language processing. On the corporate side, everything is steady as she goes. Legal, HR, we'll keep that wrapped up inside the corp side, kind of the boring stuff. On the engineering, product, and operations side, we are adding two kinds of clustering functionality to the Dataset Toolkit, and you might consider these dataset insights. We are adding the ability to append an NLP dataset to a time series dataset inside the Dataset Toolkit and see the differences in clustering. When you have a time series dataset, you've got open, high, low, close, for example. They represent price activity. For a day or a week, you can have price activity based on tick data. You can have price activity based on time and sales. There are different kinds of ways you can measure the performance or the price of a stock based on buy pressure, sell pressure, attaching other kinds of indicators. But in this case, when you look at a time series data set, you're looking at primarily quantitative data, and you're looking to maybe cluster stocks based on similar price patterns. We're showing you can cluster stocks based on similar patterns in human language that surrounds those stocks. And we're enabling this to be easily demonstrated through the Dataset Toolkit. And we're also adding the functionality of fundamental data. So we're including the ability to cluster based on fundamental data such as number of shares short or market cap. There are hundreds of data points that we have access to related to fundamental or qualitative data that you can use to cluster. And again, we can append our NLP datasets to show that not only can you cluster using fundamental or qualitative data, you can also cluster using language modeling that surrounds public companies or cryptos. And then we're showing how you can combine those two clusters to come up with a completely different signal or a completely different way to gain alpha or profit. And that matters. We're continuing to work out a new roadmap. It's been a very busy week for us, so we're going to continue with that. The new roadmap will outline new engineering directives internally. We've also released a couple of basket generating tools to the Thematic Baskets channel. On the customers, partners, and collaborators side, we're bringing in about 2 to 3 customers, mid-tier customers per week. These are not large customers. These are small to mid-tier customers. And these would be groups that service other financial institutions on the buy side or the sell side, and they are interested in data sets, of course. But in particular, they're interested in one customer that came to us was interested in building what they called mini indices. And if you look at an index or an index fund, it's a group of stocks or a group of crypto. You've got an index there, and you can trade the entire index as one trading vehicle. They're looking to create an unlimited number of custom indices based on themes or based on natural language processing. So we're working with them on that. We're going to be talking more about that next week with them. Sales and marketing has plenty to do, so they are humming right along. On the PR, IR, and Marcom side, well, we're gearing up for a few PRs here after the news cycles calm down. That's just could be in a week or so. We'll see. We've also experienced a couple of delays just based on engineering issues that have caused ripple effect delays on the PR side. But with these news cycles we're experiencing, that pretty much absorbs that, makes that a non-issue. On the exchanges side, we're moving right along. That's moving forward. We don't have any solid updates on that yet on the exchanges side. Next, we've got questions from the trader base. The first question is, you mentioned on a previous call, imagine 400,000 traders being onboarded to VXV. Would this result in 400,000 new VXV wallets being created? Yes, as each trader or investor is a customer, and as each customer is or doubles as a trader or investor. The next question is, will companies be buying OTC with Vectorspace AI's wallet from Vectorspace's AI's wallet? That's how that should read. Or will they have to purchase through Probit or another exchange? A company can be a customer or an equity investor. If a company is a customer, then they're going to purchase on the open market, which we facilitate. When we use the term public marketplace or public order book, it's the same thing as the open market. It's the same thing as the public has access to be able to buy and sell VXV. The reason I'm mentioning that, there was some confusion when we use those terms. I just wanted to clarify those are industry standard terms. Now, if the customer or if the company is an investor, then they're going to be an equity holder and they're going to be a VXV holder. And that means that they're going to purchase VXV on the OTC side and on the open market side. And in terms of ratios, that's on a case-by-case basis. The next question is, what do you think about a partnership between Vectorspace AI and Ocean Protocol? We think that's great. We think it's a net positive. And it's a smart move for any trader base, crypto or traditional stocks, to build a position in VXV. In addition, they're also going to need data sets like any company in any industry. The next question actually is a series of questions. It starts, what is stopping big clients, for example, S&P or WorldQuant, of Vectorspace AI to become revenue-generating customers? The next part, is there any expectations from their side that can't be met? Next, can you please list out the reasons for the possible delays from the customer side? We can't list all the delays, but we will break down a few. Let's start with WorldQuant. WorldQuant was restructured as a company. It was restructuring as we were negotiating. If you have ever tried to negotiate with a company that is internally restructuring, you will notice delays, significant delays. Next, it's very important to separate pre-pandemic partnerships and customers versus post-pandemic partnerships and customers. Nothing else needs to be said after that. And the next point relates to something we've touched on and we've updated on in the past. S&P Global is a revenue-sharing dataset distribution point. What we're doing is establishing several revenue-sharing dataset distribution points, and they all fit into different categories. There are dataset distribution points that are at the bottom tier that don't require anything but a simple registration and a pointer to the dataset. That's it. There are others like S&P Global, and there are others like Kaggle, owned by Google, the world's largest dataset distributor on the net. Generalized dataset distributor. S&P Global is a financial data source provider looking for financial data sets. We have also spent time getting the DTK ready, the Dataset Toolkit, ready to cookie cut. Very important for us and very important for our customers, which are data engineers that need to save time, cut through the chase to see that the data sets we are talking about and offering them are valuable. And that's what the DTK does for us. We also plan to launch from multiple distribution points. So before signing any revenue sharing agreements, it was very important to us to bring as many to the table as possible, and we're still doing that, large and small. From S&P Global, FactSet, Morningstar, UBS, Snowflake, and the list goes on. We are not half-assing this. And when you're trying to raise an army, you just don't get one guy. And you don't do it without AI. The next question is, I wonder if Vectorspace's service is going to provide alpha for companies to make more money. They should make a partnership quickly before any other company get access to alpha generating dataset. We are moving as fast as we can, and we are moving as fast as we can combined with the speed of our customers, the speed that the industry moves, and the speed that the public marketplace shapes up based on global events, large global events. We will move with them and adapt. Those that don't will not survive. The next question relates to whether or not a competitor. So this question is actually two parts here, and I'll repeat it. I wonder if Vectorspace's service is going to provide alpha for companies to make more money. They should make a partnership quickly before any other companies get access to alpha generating data sets. So it's a loaded question. Let's say that. When you look at the historical data, you can see that our data sets make money for companies and hedge funds. Hedge funds have used our data sets in the past, and we have new and advanced ways of creating these data sets, and we are now introducing these to the public. Will they make money with these? Absolutely. Historical data proves that. Of course, that is no guarantee of future performance. However, the current hedge funds that are using our data sets are making money. Now, in terms of other companies getting access to the same data sets we provide, that's impossible. We produce data sets other companies cannot produce. We don't just operate at the tip of the spear, we are the tip of the spear. Next, we'll move on to strategy. So with the new administration, there's a new kind of certainty baked in. And as we mentioned before, we like certainty like the markets like certainty. It is a little bit different this time, but this kind of certainty does flesh out all kinds of micro directions and individual sectors that we can focus on now. And macro themes now come to the fore. New macro themes with new administrations, new policies, new regulation on the front. We can look forward to new focuses on new kinds of industries, different industries. For example, one thing that actually has not changed before I get into this is biosciences. Trillions have been allocated to life sciences, biosciences, infectious disease, COVID, and this is not going to stop. We're going to be preparing for the next pandemic. And with biosciences, we look at this as the most valuable macro theme. We also see a greater focus on cybersecurity. One of the reasons for that is based on what's happening in natural language processing, the ability to produce text, synthetic text, in addition to data sets. If you want to hack an AI system or an ML system, you don't do it like this like you would do with a standard piece of software or an OS or a network. You do this based on the data set. So data set provenance, governance, and lineage is going to be extremely important and heavily related. It's almost going to be one and the same with cybersecurity or InfoSec. And of course, you've got companies like CrowdStrike and Palantir having a focus in this area too. Not with data set security, but with security in general, information security. We also see data and data sets, of course, with sourcing, triangulation, metadata generation, algorithmically generated data sets, curation, data engineering, storage, provenance, lineage, governance, and data security is with it. And of course, another macro theme would be AI and ML. Another macro theme would be crypto and fintech. Another macro theme would be STEM, online education related to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, especially for women. And then, of course, space. From basic satellite communication to geospatial datasets to CubeSat interplanetary exploration for rare elements to establishing moon bases to trillion-dollar asteroid mining. In case you haven't heard, there is a rush to get to a trillion-dollar asteroid. You can just look that up. Everyone's now kind of focused on that, and moon bases and Mars. And inhabitable planets. Deep space exploration, and of course you've got Microsoft and SpaceX working together with forming Azure Space, and you've got Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic all focused on moving technology and moving the human race into space. Now, of course, this is all going to be enabled by space biosciences. Humans can't be in space if you can't protect their DNA, and that happens with datasets. So all these macro themes have networks of related thematic baskets associated to them, and that's what we're going to be focused on this year and next year in terms of its application in the financial markets and financial industry sector. Life sciences, a different story. Now, when you look, speaking of different sectors, when you look at things from a completely different angle in terms of those macro themes: biosciences, cybersecurity, data and data sets, AI and ML, crypto and fintech, STEM, space. When you look at these are not just thematic baskets, or they don't just represent networks of thematic baskets. Every macro theme represents an entire industry, not just a basket of stocks or crypto. Every industry represents multiple dataset customers. Every customer will need exposure to AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning to operate, compete, and innovate. Not just in the future, not just in the near future, but today. This was a pre-recorded call. If you have any questions, feel free to send them to us online. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining.